Hi, Dominique. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you.
So, what brings you in? What do you want to talk about today?
I want to talk about my relationship with my dad. It's a
Okay.
little bit of a rocky road, I would say. It's been I don't even know how to describe it. It's just he's a good man. However, the way he shows love and the way I receive love are two very different things. Um
Could you give me an example of that?
Yeah, like he would always scream that he loved me, which made no sense. Like I did
Uh-huh.
not like that at all, but like he would get really worked up about whatever it was. Like I didn't do well on my assignment, or like I didn't call him enough or whatever, and he would just be yelling at me about that, and then he would say, "I love you. Don't you know that I love you?" And I would just be sitting there like, this is so much. Like, I don't know what to do with this. And I'd get really anxious and I'd shake and everything. And then he'd tell me, stop shaking. I'm not doing anything to you.
Hmm.
And like, that would make me shake even more because I'm just like, I don't know. This is not, this is not
Yeah.
something I'm just doing for fun. Like, I don't just
Yeah.
shake for fun. But um, I haven't really seen, this is why I haven't really seen him as an adult because I did not want to put myself in that situation that I've been in the past. So like I can't remember the last time I saw him.
Well, do you try to empathize also often and see things from his perspective, or can you relate or imagine what he's thinking, what he's going through, and why he would express emotions this way?
Yeah, like I'm trying to, and I know I should, but I'm just like, you should have been doing this for me years ago. Like, why
Sure.
is it that now, as an adult, now I need to empathize with you? Like, why is this all about you all the time? Like,
Hmm.
I know that that's probably the right thing to do.
It's important to think about the difference between your perspective and his, and express the way that you're feeling. Um, I definitely noticed the sort of emphatic emotion you're talking about, and I sense a lot of frustration for you, and I do think that comes across in the body language. And I'm curious when, I don't know if there's an example of this in the past, but so you said you've never tried to bring this up with him. You don't think it's going to work, right? Sorry, I want to ask a few clarifying questions before I go forward.
Yeah, I don't think I think that I could say that I feel loved if when I'm hurt, like if he's cutting me off.
Hmm.
However, I think maybe I'm projecting that it won't work because it makes me feel uncomfortable.
Well, and
But
what I was kind of going to wonder is, I feel like um, if you think this isn't going to work, it might be because you've tried. Like, I think you would have tried to talk about this in some way, at least at one point in your life. Um, bring up kind of talking about his behavior, the way it made you feel. And I would assume this is sort of a bit of a, make sure I'm correct here and that I'm hearing you right, but that if you don't think it's going to work, it might be because other similar conversations have happened in the past and not gone the way that you wanted.
yeah, I mean, there was one specific example where he took me to therapy.
Okay. So I want to take a second to talk about my approach to therapy and what I'm sort of looking for in this session today. So I'm glad we're talking about this sort of relationship. Relationships are very key to mental health. They really affect the way we feel, especially ongoing relationships like this with family, where you deal with them throughout your whole life, right? More almost always. So over time, if you have some conflict in this relationship, it'll give you a lot of stress and anger. But it's also possible to have more supportive relationships that give you positive feelings like happiness, support, security. Um, Even as we go through this session, you and I are going to develop a relationship, and as we continue to work together, we'll develop a relationship, and we can learn about each other that way. And I want to try to have feedback and sort of think about the way that you develop relationships and how our relationship might teach us something about the relationship with your father. Do you think, does that make sense to you?
I think so.
And what I'm noticing right now is that when we talk, you're very articulate and you're very well put together. And I think there's also an element of the high body language and very emphaticness. And neither of these is better than worse or worse than the other. But I'm wondering which one comes out. Like, how do you communicate? Do you think, if you can remember, when you had these kind of conversations with your dad?
Oh, very quiet. Very,
Okay.
very quiet. I'm
Uh,
not a very loud and emphatic person around him at all.
yeah.
So,
Hmm. So I hear a lot of self-awareness from you. I also hear a lot of mixed emotions, understandably. Again, these ongoing relationships can be very complicated, and I really want to give you credit for taking his perspective um, and really putting yourself in his shoes and giving credence to the idea that like this was real to him, even though you don't think it's real. And I think one thing we can do and continue to work on to hopefully help improve this relationship, we're gonna have to keep practicing those skills, taking perspective, and advocating for yourself as well. Um, Again, we talk. It seems like there's a lot of mixed feelings, like frustration, forgiveness, wanting to move on, and it would be important to, I think, get those across to him as well, and advocate for yourself, and talk about the way that you feel and what you need. And it's gonna be delicate. It'll take time. We'll work on it. And we'll probably have to start. It's not something that's going to happen all at once. And so, is there a certain point or a period where you think like maybe when you're less stressed at your job or when the semester is over that you would be willing to kind of put thought into this, and like when would you be willing to maybe reopen a dialogue with him?
um, well, I know that he gets anxious if we don't talk for a very long period of time. So I've given myself about a week to get over it.
Hmm.
And then I will revisit it because I would rather get ahead of it and call him and talk to him than have him start to panic and be like, I haven't heard from you. Like, why haven't I heard from you? Like, we should be
Sure.
talking all the time. So I'm giving myself about a week, maybe 2 weeks if
Hmm.
I'm really not feeling it, because I don't want to go into it with bad emotions because all
Yeah.
it's going to do is hurt me.
Yeah, and make it harder to communicate.
Yeah, because
Uh,
I'm going to internalize all of it. I'm not going to so I need to be able to kind of release a lot of that
mhm.
before I can talk to him. Because if I go to him in an agitated state, nothing's going to get accomplished.
Yeah, and you definitely mentioned that on your birthday there was so much coming up and there was so much stress and you just didn't want to deal with it at that moment, which is perfectly valid. But I think you are going to need to, or it would be wise to sort of deal with it and process it before talking with him about it, because it seems like he has a way of sort of trying to shut you down and disrespecting you that might make it very confusing and difficult for you if you don't have a clear picture in your head. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think if you feel ready to have that conversation with him in a week, that would be before we meet again. So if you want to do that, by all means, go ahead and then we can talk about it next session. And if not, next session we can work a bit more on sort of targets and how we think we'd want to go about it exactly and what you want to say to him. And then in the week between the second and third session, um, whenever you're ready, make that text or call or email, and then we can talk about it after. How does that sound?
Okay. Yeah, it sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.